What up, guys? Welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show, Saturday edition. This is the show where you go to learn how to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. And man, oh man. So I normally do this show on Tuesdays. I'm starting to add Saturdays to the equation as well. So the goal is to try to do a live on Saturdays at 9 a.m. Next week, I may be out of town, but then after that, it's all systems go as far as Saturdays are concerned. So I always have so much stuff to talk about. Like I talk about stuff on my lives on Tuesdays for like 2 hours. And then like during the course of the week, I'm getting more messages in. I'm researching more things that I want to talk about. So I'm going to try to add this in so you guys can get more content. Of course, if you guys need, help when I'm not doing lives and whatnot, you can always write me at harrywilmington@gmail.com. You can write me now at harry@introvertdatingsuccess.com. And you can also go to the website, introvertdatingsuccess.com, to sign up for coaching and all that good stuff. So today's show, I want to really talk about dating multiple women because I've gotten a couple of messages from guys asking about this particular question, and I've seen a lot of stuff on Reddit. And so there was a particular Reddit post that I came across this week where a guy was going through a scenario whereby he's dating 3 different women and he can't decide which one to choose. And so he actually gives the stats of each particular woman. And I thought it'd be cool to give an example of why it is actually a good idea to date multiple women. Because in this guy's situation, he's got 3 different girls. They have different personality types, different looks, different things that they're about. And so trying to just date one woman at a time, you're going to go on a date with this one person and think that this is all you can get. And then you're trying to assess this one person and you're going to try to push to make this one person be the person that can work out for you. Whereas if you have a variety of options, now you can have options to choose from that'll help you to make a better decision overall in terms of what you decide to ultimately pick. So we're gonna go over all that stuff, plus answering your questions and stuff, all that wonderful stuff today on the Introvert Dating Success Show, Saturday edition. Let's get into it.
It's the Introvert Dating Success Podcast, the show for introverted men that's all about learning how to attract beautiful women and still get your precious alone time. And now, here's your host, dating coach and fellow introvert, Harry Wilmington.
All right, guys. So what I'm going to do is, what I want to start with first. I think I'm going to start by pulling up on screen some examples of guys that are asking questions about the whole multiple dating thing. So let me go ahead and pull that up on my screen. So you share screen here and then help an old guy out. We'll share this one first. Okay, cool. So let me get back to my StreamYard page here. And I think I like this layout here. All right, great. All right, so let's go ahead. Hold on a second here. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with this situation, right? So this is an example of a guy that's just jumping back into the dating world after a divorce. And up to this point, because he's been married for so long, he's not accustomed to what he perceives is the current state of dating, which is dating multiple people. And he said back in his day, he didn't do that. And now it seems weird to him. So we're going to read through his situation because it really speaks to this idea that if you're a guy that's like genuinely a nice guy and trying to do right by women, you may think that it's weird or awkward or dishonest to be trying to date multiple people. And if you're not used to it, it's going to be a whole new thing that's going to probably weird you out initially, right? So this guy goes, let's see, where is it? I just had it up. And now I can't see it. Oh man, where'd it go? Where did the freaking, hold on a second, guys. Like I have it on your guys' page, but I can't see it now on my page. So hold on a second here. Oh, I'm probably sharing it from the other page here. Hold on a second here. Nope, not on there either. Where the heck did it go? The joys of technology. Well, I'll see if oh, here we go. Okay, is this it? Okay, hold on a second here. Okay, I'm about to try to read it as best I can from my StreamYard page. So I'll make this bigger for myself. Okay, so anyway, here we go. So there's a guy that recently got out of a marriage and he's talking about dating multiple people and wondering, is this what happens these days? Because he's weirded out by it because he's not used to doing this. Back in his day, he didn't have to worry about multiple dating and he just dated one person at a time. And now he's like, I'm out of a marriage. I'm trying to date, but I'm being told that the girl I'm dating is seeing other people. Is that a weird thing? So here's his situation. He says, He's 48 male. I divorced a couple of years ago from a 12-year relationship and marriage. Getting back into this dating thing and the apps, which I've never used before. Yeah, 12 years ago. I mean, dating apps were around 12 years ago, but if he was married 12 years ago, it means he was probably dating his ex-wife a few years prior to that. So that would have been a cool, we'll say 14 to 16 or 17 years where he was dating where he wasn't in the dating apps. And so 17 years ago from now would have been 2007 when dating apps were kind of just starting to be a thing. Actually, it was still like online dating sites that had yet to turn into dating apps, right? So yeah, this guy has like no idea, like the fact that the apps give you such an abundance of choice. As a guy, I imagine he did not have that abundance of choice in his day-to-day life. So going from, I have a few options in my town of girls near me that I hope to run into or meet at school or networking or whatever, to go from that to like, oh my God, my phone has thousands of girls. And keep in mind, as a guy, you might only match with like a couple of dozen of them. Like, oh my God, this is a lot to choose from. But can I really like date all these options? Like, aren't they going to get mad? Aren't they trying to just date one person? That's his thought process. So he says, I had a number of first dates. Then I matched / chatted / met this 38-year-old female. We get on really well, physically, emotionally, mentally. She is exactly what I'm looking for. So in his mind, he's met the girl. He's already gone out with her only a couple of times. And it seems like based on these dates, she's already the one. That's where his mindset is at. And that is the mindset, unfortunately, guys, that is going to trip you up. If you believe after 2 or 3 dates that this woman is the end all be all, whether you're dating multiple women or not, I got news for you. You're going to be let in for disappointment, because the reason women take 2 to 3 months to solidify their feelings for us is because they want to see consistency. They want to vet us. And more importantly, they want to get to know us and hear our story to see if it's matching up with what they want and matching up with what we're showing them in real life. Men, because we're typically like, I just want to spread my seed and I don't want to date and do all this stuff I want to get over with. We're like, well, okay, she talks to me good and treats me well. I'm done. That's it. That's all I need. And guys are very simple like that. We don't need necessarily a whole lot. But what we miss out on is the small things we didn't think we'd need that later come to bite us in the butt because we didn't do our due diligence. And so even if you think you're feeling all the feels by date 4, the reality is you need more time with her. 4 dates is not enough hours collectively to know if a woman's going to be good for you in a long-term sense. You need that 2 to 3 months to also figure out your end of things. If she is who she says she is, if she's a good communicator, if she gets along with others, if she talks well about people, all these other various things that are going to be important in the long run. So he says, we've seen each other 4 times in the last month, slept with each other on the 3rd date. All right. So keep in mind, they slept with each other on the 3rd date. So for most men, at the point that we sleep with a woman, in our head, our decision is done. That's it. Final, total. We ain't got to date nobody else. We've already hooked up. So that means that if we're hooking up, I'm giving my body to her. I'm being vulnerable. I probably gave her a pillow talk that I wouldn't give other women. Why would I want to pursue other women? So then he says, I brought up the exclusivity thing on date 4. Why? Since back in my day, that's how it worked. Well, guys have convinced themselves that that's how it worked, and that can work on some women. There's a video that I've been holding on to that I'm going to eventually get to at some point. But in short, the video is talking about dating back in the 50s. And this woman like analyzes what dating actually looked like back in high school in the 50s and 60s. And I'll give a spoiler to that video now. The way that dating worked back then for women is the same way that it works now, with women having a lot of suitors and going out with all of them and not telling any of the guys that she was going out with that she was seeing other guys. So even though he's saying it's normal to him that that's how it worked, it has always worked for women in dating that they are entertaining multiple suitors until they find one that they feel is worthy. All right. This is why I tell you guys not to feel so bad about when you're deciding to do multiple dating, because chances are, even if she's not telling you, she's probably doing it also. So, and by the way, somebody commented on a video of mine where they're like, oh, so because they're doing it, we should be immoral also. I'd like to stress again, dating multiple people is not a moral issue. Being in a relationship with multiple people is a different conversation. But during the dating phase, you should not feel bad about trying to explore your options and see which ones are going to be best. And I'm going to go into that in the next segment that I talk about. So anyway, he says, I found out that she surprise, surprise, had been dating someone else for 6 months. I knew she was dating someone, but didn't know it had been 6 months and he is dating other women. So she's in a situation where she's talking/dating some other guy and they're not serious. They're only been dating, but it's been 6 months. Now, for me, that would be a situation where I'd be concerned about why it is she's gone 6 months and not made a decision on that other guy. Because like I said, for most women, it's going to only take them 2 to 3 months to figure out if they want to actually be with you in a relationship capacity. So if she's been with somebody longer than that, like it's now 6 months and this is just whatever, that expresses to me either A, it's casual, B, he's just an F buddy or whatever, or more importantly, she could potentially be dragging this other guy along until somebody comes along that she likes better. Now, is that the worst thing in the world? Not necessarily, except for the fact that that other guy is now being used for his resources, potentially on the promise of this might be a relationship. Now, we don't know their situation. For all we know, he could be agreeing to this. He's dating other people too, so he could be like, hey, I don't want to be serious with you, and I just want to be casual. Let's keep it that way. And she's like, well, okay. And maybe she's waiting for him to be serious or not. We don't know. It doesn't read as the best scenario for me personally, but it's something to observe because if she's been dating him 6 months and not, making that a relationship, then do you want to be in the same scenario? And this is why after 2 or 3 months as a guy, if she's not bringing that to your attention, you have the consideration. You can either say, okay, it's been 3 months. She hasn't brought it up yet. So I'm cool with going as it is because I'm still getting hookups. I'm still going on dates. We're still having a good time. Or if I'm wanting something super serious, what do I do? At which point, dating multiple women also helps out because let's say she decides, let's say 4 months in, she hasn't brought up wanting to be in a relationship. Well, if you're dating other people, that means you have the option now of finding somebody else that might be more serious that will eventually come to you and say, hey, what are we? But I assure you, women that want to be in a relationship, they will come to you and ask all the questions. I got a message from a guy that I'll read about that later on. But anyway, so he says, we chatted about it and we're on the same page. Oh, by the way, he should not have brought up exclusivity. Like, it's only been 4 days. So I tell you guys, wait 2 to 3 months for her to come to you and say, hey, what are we? I have feelings for you. I want to be in a relationship. You as the guy at no time should be going to her asking for a relationship. In part for this very reason is that our feelings about that are going to come a lot sooner than theirs. So where we're going to try to ask them about a relationship like 3 or 4 dates in. Because we've already made our decision. We've already slept with her. Oh my God, now I feel worried about hooking up with her and possibly other people. So I got to lock this down. At the point that you start thinking, I got to lock this down, you've already started to lose because now you're handing her the cards and saying, I have more feelings than you do right now. And I want this to be a thing. Please make it be a thing, which now puts the onus onto her. And again, all we care about is where she's at because where you're at's going to get there a lot faster. If she's not there at the point that you are trying to ask her, what'll usually happen is, and I've seen this happen in the last 2 weeks, guys write me, hey, I told her I liked her, and now all of a sudden she's saying, well, we're not in the same place. Well, you weren't intentionally trying to tell her that you're ready to lock this down. You were just saying, hey, I really like you. I have feelings for you. Where's your head at? And that reads to her as, I'm already there. I want you in a relationship right now. Make a decision. Women need the 2 to 3 months. So if you're asking her after 4 dates, that's roughly for most guys between 2 to 4 weeks. That is not enough time. You've not let it gestate enough. You have taken the cake out of the oven before it's got to heat the center, so to speak. So this is why you should never be going to her asking for a relationship ever again. For those of you that are watching this, take that to heart. All right. Women that like you and have dated you for 3 months at least will come to you and ask for the relationship. Women will say, that's not true. I want a guy, blah, blah, blah. Yes, they will tell you that until they meet a guy that they see is the end all be all to their world and sees that he has other women that like him. And there's a risk that he's going to go away unless she comes to him and says, hey, I want you first. Happens across the board. So don't believe women telling you this lie that you got to come to them to ask them for a relationship. They will come to you. The problem is most men haven't seen this because they don't wait long enough for it to happen. I had to get into the practice of saying, okay, clearly, me coming to them after a month, after 2 weeks, after 2 good dates, after 4 good dates isn't working. So if what I'm already doing isn't working, I don't think this strategy of waiting them out is going to work either, but I can't lose because I'm already losing. So let me just practice it. And the first time it happened where I just didn't say anything and I waited and didn't actually, we'll go back to when the first time I hooked up with somebody was I wasn't trying to press the situation. Like I was a virgin. Everybody knew it. I wasn't trying to push any kind of agenda. And it just so happened that through that experience, because I wasn't trying to push it so much, by month 3, she was more than ready to do some stuff. And at that point I was like, let's do some stuff. And I was like, oh, snap. So because I wasn't pressing it, it was able to happen. I wonder if this will happen with other women. Surprise, surprise. It happened with other women. When I wasn't trying to press the situation, they wanted to hook up first. They wanted to invite me out more. They wanted to text me more often. And then lo and behold, like clockwork, I'm telling you, like clockwork, woman after woman after woman, 2.5 to 3 months in. Hey, so Harry, so are you seeing other people? So what are we? So my friends want to know what's going, blah, blah, blah. To where it's not even a question in my head. But again, if you haven't experienced that, you're going to think, I'm the guy. I got to go to her and ask for the thing that I want. I need this relationship. You're not going to get it that way. And if you do, she's going to eventually fall back and say, actually, things are moving a bit too fast. I know I said I wanted a relationship, but I just thought I didn't want to hurt your feelings and blah, blah, blah. You can't hurt the feelings if you wait them out. Real talk. Anyway, so he says, so we chatted about it and we're on the same page about working towards a monogamous relationship. I'm not dating or looking to date anybody else. Well, here's the thing, guy, is that's not a problem. Like, if you choose to be a guy that doesn't want to date multiple people, you do not have to be. But the problem is most guys are walking around saying it with the feeling tone they're projecting is, I don't want to date other people because you're my only option. And so I think that we need to make this be a thing because you're the only person I really have to date. And when you walk around with that energy, women start to think that the reason that you only want her is because nobody else actually wants you. And then that makes her view you as less than a viable candidate for dating, you know? So at the point where you're able to build the confidence enough to where you know, if this doesn't work out, that's fine, then I'll go out and date some other girls, then you'll be able to win more women. And the secret to that is to not go to her and ask for a relationship or to go to her and tell her about your feelings. When you omit doing those two things, women will think, why isn't he asking me for a relationship? Why isn't he telling me his feelings? Could it be because he has other women? Like, they'll psych themselves up into believing you probably have other options, which is why you're not pressed. And spoiler, women want to feel that. They want to feel that the guy that they're after potentially has other women, and therefore she's now in a contest, even if there's nobody there. Again, to guys, it'll sound stupid, it'll sound dumb. The way that they get attracted to us is different from how we get attracted to them. If we saw a woman getting chased by 5 other dudes, we might consider that we want to possibly hook up with her also, but we wouldn't take her seriously as a long-termer. She was entertaining all these guys that we knew about, right? But it doesn't work the same way for women. When women think that the guy that they want has other women that want him, it makes him more attractive because he's been pre-selected. So if you don't go to women and tell feelings and don't go to them and ask for a relationship, they will get the feeling that you would give them if they knew you were dating multiple women. So keep your mouth shut. Anyway, he says, is it quite common to date multiple people these days? Yes. I've never been in this situation and unsure if I'm getting too hung up on this. Yes, you are. I understand the logic of having a pool of people, but how do you give it your all if you're split between multiple people? Maybe it's a case of if you can't beat them, join them. I just want to know if this is the norm. Well, here's the thing, guys get caught up on this idea. Like, again, this is where, as a guy, your logical brain is going to get you in trouble dating because you're trying to think of, okay, wait a minute, but how do I logically put my energy towards one person and see if I even like them if I'm also entertaining other people? And the reason, let me get out of the full screen here. The reason that guys think that way is because we're thinking, okay, I have to, if I said yes to a date with this person or asked them out on a date rather, then that means that I'm putting all my energy and effort towards them, and it can only be them because I can only have so much focus. But you need to start looking at dating less as I'm analyzing one person and instead look at it as I'm doing a research project. And in order to do a research project on which woman out there is going to best suit me, I need a testing group and a control group. Like, no scientific studies ever like, okay, like say like clinical trials, right? Like no clinical trials like, okay, we're going to test this one drug against this one person and hope that it works out. Because what scientists would say that clinical trial is pointless because you're only doing it on one person. Like you're only going to get a result, and that result isn't necessarily going to be the proper result that we're looking for. We need to test a variety of people in order to get an overall. Like with clinical trials, they won't just test one person. They'll test thousands of people to see, okay, based on these thousands of people we tested this drug on, this thing has like a 98% chance of this is net, or overall the drug is going to work like this, right? So the same is true of dating in the sense that you dating one person, you're going to think, okay, I'm going to date this one person and I'm going to put all my resources into this and hope for the best. And then you do that and you're like, okay, well, I got to make it work because it's the only person that I'm trying to date. So and you're not getting a fair read because you're thinking the way this person's responding to you, the way that they're acting, it's the only version of girl that you're going to be able to get. And whether they're good or not, you got to make it work. Versus if you have multiple women, let's say you're dating like 3 or 4 women, now you have a good control group to say, okay, I got 4 women I'm dating, so I'm going to try the same questions, the same restaurant, the same everything on all these women and see what results I get. So let's say, for example, I do the time tested. I with everybody that I date, I take them on a date, I show them a good time, and then I wait 4 days between dates to text them. That is like one of my earlier tests. Also, it gives them time to miss me and all these other positive things I've talked about on the show before. So go on a date with person number 1. I wait 4 days to text them for our next date. They're like, oh my God, this is so great. I want to go out again. Boom. I know she has a great attitude. Test 1, pass. Let's go to the other person. I wait 4 days to text them. And then I text them for another date and they don't answer. Oh, so they weren't all that interested in me at the end of that first date. Totally fine. Third person, I hit them up. Oh, you waited 4 days to text me. Whoa. Okay, she's got a bad attitude. I didn't feel any of this on that first date. I'm glad I did this so I could figure out what's going on. And then the fourth person, I hit them up. Hey, so nice to hear from you. I was going to hit you. Oh, sorry. No, the fourth person, I'm waiting 4 days. They hit me up on day 2. Hey, Harry, I know we just saw you, but I'd love to see you again, blah, 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 blah. Oh, they got a lot of interest. So you see, by having this control group of 4 people, I was able to figure out which one had a higher interest, which one also had a decent enough interest, which one wasn't interested, and which one had a bad attitude. I could not figure that out if I only went out with one person. So that's why it's a good thing in the beginning of your dating journey to consider dating multiple people. Now, again, as you get more confident in yourself and your ability to be able to attract women, you won't necessarily have to date multiple women, but I never want you to feel like it's a bad thing to do it in the first place, you know? So hopefully that guy is the comments that were left in this section, he's able to figure out what's going on with him and, you know, be good from there. So that's the first part of this I wanted to cover. By the way, guys, this show is still ultimately about you. So if you have any questions you want to ask me during the course of the show, I will be more than happy to answer them after I go through all this other stuff. Okay, so leave your comments. I'll use here. Leave your questions for me in the chat, and I will answer them on the stream. All right, there we go. I'll leave that there. Sure, I can say, can I pin at the top? Oh, it's going all over the place. Okay, great. Okay, great. So that was the first thing I wanted to show you. So let me make sure I can actually see the other thing here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen again. So let me get this shared real quick. Let me take this one down and let me present another thing here. All right, so share screen and here we go. Love this one. Love this one. All right, let's see if it's still there. Oh, that's what it shows up as. Okay, great. So here is the second thing we're going to go over. So this is going to give you guys an example of why it's a good idea to date multiple women at one time. And I'm going to go through his situation. I'm going to comment on the various girls he's talking to and also comment on his state of mind as a dater right now, because it's important for you as a dater, whether you're dating one person or multiple people, to go in there with the utmost confidence in yourself and your ability to be able to attract these women and show them a good time, all right? And recognize that you're a good guy that anyone will be lucky to have. You know, you're the prize this year as well, right? So this guy's situation says, I met 3 girls and now I'm in a tough spot. So he's 30 years old. He says, I have been on the apps for a while and have had low to moderate success. I'm looking for a life partner at this point. And by the way, guys, having the idea of wanting a life partner is not a bad thing, but concentrating to the point where you're just like, I have to have somebody, that's where you're going to slip up. Because if your whole goal is like, I have to have somebody, then that means you're not already happy with yourself as is, just being a solo person. And you need to be comfortable being in a solo state, because even when you're in a relationship, you need to be able to tap back into you having your solo time, your introvert alone time. And that stuff is important. And you can't let a woman come along and just take you out of that because she wants all your time, right? You need to be okay with that. And also, there's going to be times where she goes away, she's on vacation, she has friends she hangs out with, and you still need to be good being by yourself, even at times where she's away from you, you know? So remember that. So he says, I matched with 3 girls in about a span of 2 weeks, which for a guy is a lot. Like on the dating apps, it can be a little brutal out there. So if he's met 3 girls that all agreed to actually go on dates, kudos to this guy. If you need help with that, by the way, I have a whole program at my website called Smart Digital Dating that takes you through the ins and outs of how to set up your dating app bio, how to talk to women on these dating apps, and how to get them to agree to in-person dates. You can check that out at introvertdatingsuccess.com under the products tab. So he says, so I matched with 3 girls in about a span of 2 weeks. I had a FaceTime call or an in-person first date with all of them, and they all have some potential in my eyes. So let's go. I'm going to read through the 3 girls first, and then I'll go back through each one and say what the highlights are and the lowlights, all right? So girl number 1, 31 female, kind of the girl next door vibe, very sweet, and hasn't had too much experience dating. I would say she's a 6.5 out of 10 physically, attracted to her initially, but we've been texting a lot. She's been the most responsive, and it really seems like our values, communication style, and what we want out of life lines up well. Only dislike is that she's not really athletic or sporty and is slightly more of a homebody than I am. Definitely has some wife/good mom potential. So that's the first girl. Second girl, 28 female, reformed party girl who is looking to have a stable relationship vibe. She's given up drinking and is looking for a new friend group since her old one basically revolved around drinking. She's had some really awful boyfriends in the past and kind of seems jaded from dating. We talked about our experiences with therapy and how it has helped. On a physical attractiveness level, it's probably an 8 out of 10 for me, but she's a little less enthusiastic when it comes to texting/communicating. Our values seem to line up well, but she's been a little less open to being vulnerable about what she wants out of life, understandably so. We lined up a little better on day-to-day lifestyle stuff like music, hobbies, etc. She does want to get into sports, which is a major turn on for me, but not a deal breaker if they don't. And then we get girl number 3. So she's 29 and female, the most recent match and one I've had the least amount of contact with so far. Attractiveness is an 11 out of 10 for me. Honestly, don't even know how we're still talking. She's a bit hot and cold with her responses. She told me that she was in a 5+ year relationship that took the first half of her 20s, which ended because of distance. She took a break from dating and 4 years goes by, and now she's feeling the pressure to date and wants a life partner in the next 5 years. She's a little more mysterious, but I'll be honest that her attractiveness is really giving her more leeway than others. We seem to get along okay, but I need to get to know her more. He says, so I've never really been in the situation before, actually having 3 girls with decent potential. To be honest, I thought 1 or 2 would have ghosted me or ended it, but it seems like things are moving along. How do I navigate this and choose? I plan on getting to know them better, and maybe by date 3, I'll have to decide, or they'll naturally end before then. Definitely will not be sleeping with multiple, since I feel like that's a clear line in the sand. So first off, kudos to this guy for actually having the gall to be able to get 3 girls a date. So clearly he's at a point where he's not too upset about the idea of going out with multiple women. Now, with that said, you see how this can be a benefit, because he described each woman where they have different pros and cons to each one of them. And this is what you're going to find out when you start to date multiple women. For one, because when you date multiple women, you're not putting any particular one on a pedestal, although this guy's kind of close with the third girl about being 11 out of 10, which we'll get to in a minute. But you're coming at it from a more analytical position versus an emotional position. As the guy dating, it's better for you at the beginning to be more analytical and less emotions and feelings based, because when you're emotions and feelings based, you're going to be blinded to all the red flags she has to offer, because you're just going to be trying to forcefully make this work because you're in your feelings, you're in your lust or whatever, right? Whereas if you're not putting a woman on any particular pedestal, you're going to look at it more like, okay, these 3 girls, they like me, that's great, but like, okay, what are the pros and cons about them? And based on what those are, can I make this work? Is it a thing that's going to last long term? Or should I dismiss a couple of them and then choose one from there, right? And then even with that, at the end of the day, each of these women should be coming to you at some point in the dating process to ask for a relationship. So I don't want you guys to think, okay, I'm dating multiple women, but now it's been like 3 dates, I got to choose one. They should be choosing you. And what's going to happen is they're going to start to narrow themselves down, or best case scenario, if it's going great with all 3 of them, all 3 of them at some point will come to you and say, hey, so are you dating other people? So how serious are you about me and you? Like, what's going on? And some guys might have a fear about that. Like, what if she comes to me and asks for a relationship? And I'm like, but I'm seeing other people. Won't she be mad? I'll be honest. I have found that that's usually not the case. Like, we as guys project in our heads that they're going to be mad at us because it makes the most logical sense. You're dealing with a being that operates more so on their emotions than their logic. They're more than their analytical logic, rather. And so they might analyze the situation and see you're dating 3 other people and be like, but I want him. So how do I win? That's what I've experienced. So, and the women that do get mad, worst case scenario is if they get mad, you say, oh, wait, you seem really upset about this. Are you saying that you want it to be my girlfriend? Are you coming to me now with your attitude based on how you're feeling about this? It seems like you're the one that's wanting a relationship. Is that what's happening? So if she gets angry, she's just revealing her cards to you that she actually wants you in a relationship. Again, you don't lose either way unless you feel as though you're going to lose and you project out that you're doing a bad thing. If you project out you're doing a bad thing, they're going to take it as bad. If you project out as like, wait, we're just dating, like, no, neither of us said we wanted anything serious with each other yet, then they're going to have to be like, oh, damn, he's right. All right, I guess we got to have that conversation now. So take it as it will, right? So with that said, I want to go over each of these women he's talking about, and I want to go into their pros and cons, as well as where his mindset's at and what he needs to change about how he's thinking about this, okay? So let's go to the first girl. And the first girl, he says, kind of the girl next door vibe, very sweet, hasn't had too much experience dating. I would say, honestly, for me, she'd be the highlight. Like, I know, I preach on the show, hey, women today have a lot of experience. They go out there, they get multiple offers. And so you can't fault a woman for taking those offers. I wholeheartedly believe that. I also believe that the less tainted a woman is in terms of the dating world of things, the less she has an ideology of girl boss stuff, or this is all about me. Most of the kind of girls that haven't had a lot of dating experience, they understand that they're going to bring a lot to a relationship, and they're not just privy to give that out to everybody. And that is a girl that is worth dating. All right. Now, with that said, if you find that she's not all that attractive, or you find for whatever reason it's just not gelling, you shouldn't try to force a relationship to happen, because that is not fair to her. All right. But in terms of her stats, very sweet, which means she's probably not very argumentative. She doesn't have a lot of experience dating. So that means that you're going to be able to mold her into the kind of person that is going to work best for you in a relationship. He says, I would say she's a 6.5 out of 10 physically. I'll be honest, guy. I've dated women ranging from like 3s to women that have been like the 10s of 10s. And I will tell you this, the 10s of 10s get really ugly when they want to fight you, or they want to like not follow your leadership, or they want to bring up crap that has nothing to do with like what's going on in a particular disagreement or argument. So I say this because I've also lived with very hot 10s who, they're very messy, and they're not respectful of other people. And they'll bring, like, I dated a girl, I was with a girl, not dating her, but I was living with a girl who like just bring people over without asking if it was okay to bring them over or keep them overnight, without asking if it's cool for them to stay in the first place, like very inconsiderate. So that takes her from a 10 now to like a 6.5. Whereas a woman that's a 6.5, I'll be honest, as we get older, we all age into average. Even the most highly attractive woman that's in her 40s and still has like peak looks, that's still her average versus like how the actual hotness she had back in her 20s. So we're all going to turn into average. But I would rather take average with a great attitude, who wants to hook up with me on a consistent basis and is nice to others and is always thinking about what my needs are, over a hot-looking chick that is all about herself and her needs and is going to blame you for all the faults in the relationship, because that will make you look at her like a 5. And a 6.5 with a great attitude who wants to hook up all the time will be boosted to an 8 or 9 relatively quickly, especially over a span of time when you start to see, like, beyond her looks, all the other stuff that she brings to the table. All right. So just something to consider, guy. Anyway, attracted to her initially, we've been texting a lot. So again, I get on you guys about texting kills attraction, and that you should not be mad if women's not trying to text you all the time. That said, women that are reaching out to you more often, they are in effect chasing you. And if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. So a woman that is actively initiating text to you on a consistent basis, that is a good sign. She's been the most responsive, and it really seems like our values, communication style, and what we want out of life lines up well. So again, she seems to have all the things on paper that overall would make for a good mate. Now, he's 30, so and this woman's 31. So this woman's probably at the age where like she's realizes she's 31, she's not getting any younger. So she's just like, look, I'll go with the guy's program. I'm down to go with the flow. Just when a guy's going to treat me well. And hey, this guy's really attractive. So I don't want to play games. I want to be able to text him. I want to be able to call him, do all this other things. So basically what that means is that she on paper is bringing everything to the table. And you know what's funny is that he's questioning her, but guys, don't we get mad when women are like, you look so great. You're going to make a great husband someday for some other woman. And you're like, why can't I be perfect for you? So You gotta think about that. Like, are you now doing the same thing to women that have everything on paper, but somehow it's just not there? I would say, again, you've only dated her a couple times, so consider that giving her a bit more time dating could make you realize the things she has to offer. And before you just say, well, she's a 6.5, he's not the hottest, blah, 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 like really consider everything this girl's going to bring to the table. But that if you are dating her more than 1 or 2 dates, you'll have time to figure that out. He says the only dislike is that she's not really athletic or sporty and is slightly more of a homebody than I am. Spoiler, most women aren't going to be like athletic or sporty. Like even ones that used to do track or whatever in high school and whatnot, at 31, she ain't trying to run. She ain't trying to if she's not trying to join a team, she's not trying to do extra stuff. Now, the caveat is this, is that sometimes if women aren't initially doing that, once a guy comes into their life and they realize it's an activity he wants to do, then they'll be more open to partaking a little bit. Like I know me, I'm not a big sports fan myself, but if I'm dating a woman that is into sports, I might watch a game here or there, or might make it a thing where I can make it into a date night thing where depending on the teams that win, either I or the other person pays for a date night. Like I can figure out ways to get into it because that's my partner now. I want to be part of their life somehow. So I'll figure out a way to partake in it, even if it's not as a high of a level, okay? So be mindful of that. Most women are going to be overly sporty. If you find one that is, that's fantastic, great. But I wouldn't personally, on my list of things, have that be a thing like, oh, they're not sporty enough, or they don't, I like video games. Oh, she's not into video games. I wouldn't turn her down just because she doesn't like 1 or 2 things that I like to do. Like there's so many other things. I say as a generality, guys, if a woman comes to the table giving you 80% of what you want, that's way more than most women are going to bring to you. I'd say consider taking that option, all right? So girl 1 here, he says definitely has some wife/good mom potential. I'd say keep on going out with her. Fantastic, right? So now we get to woman number 2. So she's 28. When he said reform party girl, my insides went, ugh. Because I've been around party girls, like back in my 20s. I was having parties every weekend at my apartment with my roommates at the time, and girls would come through. And I know what those girls look like. I know women that are picture perfect moms today that were like doing adult movies or were like, slurping up all these guys at a party. And so I know what that means. So if you're going to date a reform party girl, you got to understand there are probably some stories you're probably never going to want to hear if you want to keep her in the visual that you have of her, Anyway, she's looking to have a stable relationship vibe. I don't know what vibe means. Anyway, she's given up drinking. So that's already another kind of flag-ish thing. Like, not this bad that she's recognized that she was a drinker and she's stopping, but how long has she given it up for? Like, has it been like 2 years or like 2 months? Because that's going to tell you all about like if she's going to get back on that bandwagon. And if she was giving up drinking, what was she doing when she was drinking that made her want to quit? Because if she was getting an attitude or being moody or fighting guys or exes or whatever like that, you need to know that stuff. Because if she decides to get off the wagon and start drinking again, or get back on the wagon and start drinking again, you're going to have to face the wrath of whatever she was doing when she was drinking. He says, she's looking for a new friend group since her old one basically revolved around drinking. You know what's funny? I found most women at the point that they get to their late 20s, early 30s, like usually are doing that. Like whether they were drinking or not, women, I thought, what's funny? As an introvert, I thought I would be, because I had less friends that are like serious friends, that I'd have less friends than most women that I dated. Come to find out, most women I find after like college, they don't really keep in touch with their old friends. They don't really hang out that much. And I realized part of that's because if they're single, but their friends are not, most of their friends have moved on to other married friends, and they're the odd friend out that's single, and their friends are like, I don't want her to steal my man. So it actually becomes a lot harder as you get older to find women that have long-term friendships, unless they are either in a coupledom or have like friends that have been since childhood. But it's surprisingly hard. Like I have more long-term friends I've had since like 5, 6, 7 years old than most women that I've met. Just saying. But anyway, so she said this part. He says, she's had some really awful boyfriends in the past and kind of seems jaded from dating. So when I hear women say that, I have yet to hear a woman say that any of her exes were good. Most women, because when a woman breaks up, whether she's breaking up with you or you're breaking up with her, it's still an event where it's like the thing she thought was going to last didn't last. And now all she can think about is all the bad things that emotionally made her want to leave that relationship. And so, spoiler guys, most women are going to say, all my exes sucked. All of them. So this woman dated 5, 6, 7 people, and just across the board, they suck. That means either A, she's a bad picker, B, all guys are trash, or C, there's a middle ground where it's like some of the guys she dated were trash, but also she's not giving you the full story. She's giving you the side of the story that makes her look good. So that way she'll be in your good graces. And most women aren't going to tell you, yeah, my ex, he was cool, but just, we had differences. Most women are like, oh, my ex, this and that. Oh, he was emotionally abusive. He was financially abusive. He didn't emote with me. Like all these things that could equate to, sometimes it's just like, he was telling me what to do that was right. I didn't want to follow what he was saying. And so I fought back against him. And then I felt like he wasn't emotionally hearing me because I didn't want to hear his good advice. So it could be any one of those. You're not going to get the story. So when women say to me, oh, I've had ex-bad boyfriends, I don't even listen to that, because I assume most women are going to come to me saying they had bad exes. Otherwise they wouldn't be single. But I don't think all those guys are necessarily bad either. I think there's things that they left out because women are prone to leave out details to make themselves look better. And I just take that as like, most women are going to do that. Totally fine. I'm not going to ask further. All right. But continuing on, he says, we talked about our experiences with therapy and how it has helped. So now we go into trauma bonding. He's in therapy. She's in therapy. He's thinking, oh, we can connect on therapy and our crappy past. This is not the best way to build a relationship. So when I hear women say, oh, I've been in therapy, I don't necessarily take that as a good thing. Also, I find there are a lot of therapists out there that will lie to women in order to keep them as patients, because I've found an experience that when women go to therapy, or say they go to like couples therapy, whatever, like if the therapist is not on their side, then they want to quit therapy. So that doesn't give me a good sense either that this woman's like emotionally stable just because she's in therapy. It reads to me like I need to know more so what the therapy sessions are about or what's going on, because like for all I know, your therapist could just be a yes person that's making you feel good. Or what are you going to therapy for? Like, are you telling me all the things you're going to therapy for, or is there some deep stuff that you're not telling me about yet that's going to make me get pause? And then in terms of if you as the guy are in therapy, it's like you should be working diligently on your issues, but that doesn't mean you now bond with somebody else that's also going in therapy. Like that's not necessarily the best thing in the world, Anyway, he says, on a physical attractiveness level, it's probably an 8 out of 10 for me, but she's a little less enthusiastic when it comes to texting and communicating. Well, again, guy, you should only be using texting for asking for dates and then asking for dates and then or answering when she reaches out to you first, which in those first couple of dates is probably not going to happen a whole lot. If you met him online, then there's a better chance that, yeah, when you first meet him, you're going to talk to him a little bit to get him on the date. But realistically, again, guys, get out of your head that you need to be having this nonstop texting in order for her feelings to actually be there. Some women are traditionalists, and some women are just like, if I show up for the date, why do I got to text in between dates? And then as her feelings grow for you more, she'll on her own start reaching out a bit more. But this is really a bad read on her life for you. Now, again, the first girl is texting a lot. And so again, that could be a read. But if they're not doing it, don't take that as it's a bad thing or that they're less interested. So then he says, our values seem to line up well, but she's been a little less open to being vulnerable about what she wants out of life, understandably so. So I don't know if he means like, if she's not being vulnerable about what she wants out of a relationship, or if she's just not telling, if he's like, hey, what do you want out of life? And her answer's like, yeah, I don't know. But either way, like the whole vulnerability thing, guys, they need 2 or 3 months to fully trust you. Some women are going to take a little bit longer before they start opening up about certain things. And what I can't stand is when guys are like, it's been 2 or 3 dates. She's not opening up about her feelings or about her past, this and that. Why do you want her to talk about such serious subjects in what's supposed to be considered the honeymoon phase of dating? Like, she wants to just have fun. If she has troubles, she wants to forget about them when you're around. So you going around saying, hey, so now that we're having fun, let's be serious. Let's talk about the traumas you've had. Let's talk, what do you really see out of life? Like, those are conversations that ideally will happen as you get closer to the 2.5 to 3 month mark when she's close to considering you as a boyfriend. But early on, that's probably not going to happen. And you trying to push it is going to make her feel like you're trying to make this be a thing too soon, and she's going to back away. So then he says, we line up a little better on day-to-day lifestyle stuff like music, hobbies, etc. Yeah, that's the stuff. But see, guys think that, especially introverted guys, think that talking about surface level stuff isn't going to allow us to get deeper. But for women, if she's able to trust you with surface level stuff, then she can trust you with deeper stuff later on. Because think about this, right? How many women you think are out there where they're like, oh, I love to see romantic comedies, and the guy's like, oh, that's stupid. Well, that's a surface level activity, but you've called it dumb. So if you're calling her surface level activity dumb, how is she going to trust you with talking about deeper stuff that to you may also feel dumb? Because, hey, even when I'm in relationships, I'm very understanding when women come to me and talk about things, and I might hear them say something. I'm like, that is the stupidest, but I don't voice that because even if it's stupid to me, if it's important to her, that's all that matters. If that's what she wants to talk about, if that's the activity she wants to do, then my job is to ask further questions about that and dive deep into this thing that she wants to talk about. It's not to judge the thing and call it stupid. So women will bring surface level stuff to you as a test in part subconsciously to see how you're going to judge them on those things to see if they want to then go deeper with you. So yeah, in the beginning, it's going to be surface level. It might be annoying to you, but if she can spend 2 months talking to you about surface level stuff, then she will come to you one day with deeper stuff because she's had enough proof from you that you're not going to be overly judgy of her. I've had female friends come to me and say, hey, I want to tell you about this thing that I did or this thing that involved me and this other guy that I shouldn't have got into, but I can only tell you because I don't think you're going to judge me. But my female friend or other friends are going to judge me about it. And that's because I understand that for women, the conversation is more important. The act of the conversation is the bonding part that is the important part to them, not so much the details. But judging them on those details is going to make them feel like they can't bond to you, okay? So then he says, she does not want to get into sports, which is a major turn on. Oh, she does want to get into sports, which is a major turn on for me, but not a deal breaker. So again, if it's not a deal breaker for this girl that you find a little more attractive, it shouldn't be a deal breaker for the first one if she doesn't want to get into sports, all right? So based on the assessment of the second girl, if you were asking me, I'd be like, I would really proceed with caution because former drinking, former party girl, doesn't have a lot of friends, gets odd or weird when she's drinking around her other people, a lot of bad exes in the past, that's a bad sign. Like, those are things that would be like, I would proceed with caution, but I would still date. So now we got two girls that I would still continue to date as I'm better assessing them since it's so early in the dating process. Now, we go on to girl number 3. So girl number 3, he says, is the most recent match and the one I've had the least amount of contact with so far. Attractiveness is 11 out of 10 for me. Honestly, I don't even know how we're still talking. So just on that phrase alone, he does not feel, based just solely on her looks, that he is worthy of actually dating her. And so because he has that thought process, it now colors everything else he says afterwards, where he says she's hot and cold with her responses. He says she's a little more mysterious and we seem to get along okay, but I need to know more. Like, women have such a good sense of where a guy's head at, where a guy's head at is about himself, right? So she can probably feel, yeah, this guy thinks I'm the hot stuff. Like, he knows that I'm way better than him. Well, women don't like to feel that. Women like to feel like the guy that they're dating is actually better than them. Women will fight me on this all day. And to that I say, this is why hypergamy is a thing. This is why women will say, I want a guy that makes the same as me or more. I want a guy that has a house and a car and these other things that are more than mine. I want a guy that's able to be 6 foot or taller than me, because women are always looking for better, because to them, dating a guy that's better equates with a guy that can help take care of me, will be able to protect me and be a safety net for me, all these other things. It's all subconscious. So guys get mad all day about, oh my God, she wants all this stuff. Guys, just like we're ingrained to want really hot women because it associates with like having good looking kids that then will not be harmed in the wild, women are going to have certain things they're looking for. But the point is, they're typically looking for better. So when you as a guy come along and say, oh my God, she's so much prettier and she's so much hotter and she's so much better, it starts to give women the ick and start to turn them off. So you can't be in this mindset, which is why, again, the way he judges women, oh, one's a 6.5, one's an 8, one's an 11. You need to look at all these women as average, because outside of their looks, you don't know their personality. You don't know how often they're going to want to text you or go out with you, or if they're going to flake on you, or if they're dating other people themselves. You don't know any of these things. When you first see a woman, you're just going off your natural instinct of, she's hot, want to bang. You got to bypass that and say, okay, that's going to always be there. Beyond the I want to bang her part of this equation, in the long run, is she actually going to be a viable candidate to date? So when I see women in the wild that are 11 out of 10s, to me, my first thought is like, oh crap, she's hot. And most guys probably aren't hitting on her. I probably have a shot, but yeah, she's hot. But what's behind that hotness? Like, is she hot, but she has like irritable bowel syndrome? Is she hot, but has a bad attitude? Is she hot and gives to charity? Is she hot and is great in the sack? Or is she hot, but has like stinky stuff down there? Spoiler, I've met some of those. So you don't know these things enough to really just give them a full rating just solely off their looks and to determine, because I think they're so hot, they must also think they're hot and I got to act differently. And this guy is acting differently with this 11 out of 10 than he is with the other two women. He's not aware of it, but he is. So when you say things like, I don't know first why she's still talking to me. You're basically saying, I'm less than her. How could she want to entertain me? And when you go into any dating scenario with that attitude, you're gonna have bad results, you know? And so you got to start building up your confidence level. The fact that a woman matches with you should let you know already on some level, she finds you a viable enough candidate to date. All we care about is the woman's judgment of us enough to where she's saying, I agree to date this guy. If it is, in her head, you should just assume you're already a 10, or at least you're at the level enough where she's like, yes, I would consider actually dating this guy and being in a relationship with him, okay? So, all that said, he also says, she told me she was in a 5+ year relationship that took the first half of her 20s, which ended because of distance. She took a break from dating and 4 years goes by. So now women are very careful with words, right? Because they know how to word things in a way where it's technically true, but not giving the full story. He says that she said she took a break from dating. Doesn't say she took a break from hooking up. So because of that, we don't know for sure what that means. Like, I've dated women where it's like, oh yeah, I haven't had a boyfriend in X amount of years. Like, yeah, but like, did you go out? Oh yeah, I still met guys here and there. Okay, you're telling me you hooked up with other guys. All right. So again, women aren't going to always give you the full story. You have to be mindful that when they're telling you things, you got to analyze, okay, but what does that actually mean? You can choose to ask them about it or you can choose not to, but just know most women aren't going to come out forthright and say, yeah, I've been with a boyfriend in 4.5 years, but I banged a lot of dudes in that time because I needed a one-off here and there. And I went out of the country and took a vacation and met this guy named Rubio. And he decided we were going to bang for 6-7 days. And then I met his friends and did that. Like, they're not going to tell you that story. All right. But anyway, so after all those girls, he then says, I've never really been in a situation, and I thought 1 or 2 of them would have ghosted me or ended it, but it seems like things are moving along. So again, he's still the mind frame like, oh, I wasn't good enough for all these girls to want to stick around, but they somehow did. That's amazing. You should be thinking, yeah, of course these girls want to stay around because I'm the hot stuff. If you don't believe you're the hot stuff, you have much work, my friend, to do on yourself. Because if women are saying yes to dates with you, they are seeing you as a viable candidate. But if you don't see it, you're going to project that energy onto them, and then you're going to get the result you don't want. Like, you're going to talk into existence, oh, these girls shouldn't want to date me. And then surprise, surprise, you're going to lose all 3 women, right? So anyway, even with that 3rd girl, I would say continue to date her. So with all these girls, he's dating these 3 girls, and he's asking, which one should I choose? Again, as the guy, yes, you're going to be analyzing and narrowing down, but ultimately you want to be dating these women until they either decide that they one of them or 2 of them don't want to date you, or that they come to you, all 3 of them, and say, hey, so it's been 2 months of dating. What's going on? During that time, you should not feel bad, again, for dating them, even for hooking up with them. I know some guys feel some kind of way about, well, I don't want to hook with multiple girls. And hey, you are in your full right. I'm not trying to promote like date a whole bunch of hook up with all these women at the same time. And, there's STDs and this and that. Like, I get all this stuff's out there. So you do not have to hook up with multiple women as you're dating them. But what I am saying is, if you choose to do that, you should not feel guilty about that because, for one, it's still part of the finding out process. And more importantly, they're probably doing it too. And so this is not to say because they're doing it, sorry for you. I'm saying that it's dating. There's no titles. When titles come into play, that is a different conversation about what it means to be moral and not moral when you're trying to date one girl and be in a relationship with another girl and hook with a 3rd girl. That's a whole different conversation. You dating and hooking up, you should consider that is not the worst thing in the world to be doing, and there's not a bad judgment on that. There was a few, 1 or 2 seasons ago when I was watching The Bachelor, right? The Bachelor had this rule he made up. I have like 3 overnights with these girls. I'm not going to hook up with any of them. Goes on the first date, doesn't hook up. Goes on the second date, the girl's like, oh, I really want you, blah, 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 blah. So they hook up. And then he goes on a 3rd date. And the whole time he's like, I feel weird because I hooked up with this other girl and I said I wasn't going to do that. And so I need to tell this 3rd girl that I hooked up with this other girl. And so they go out midway through the date. He's like, hey, so she's having a great time. They're at a waterfall. They're on a pond. She's having a lovely time, right? He decides to say, hey, so before we go further, I just want you to know that I hooked up with so-and-so on the overnight the other night. I'm so sorry. And her response was like, her actual response was, well, this is The Bachelor. I know what overnights entail. I knew there was a chance you probably did that, and I was fine with that. But the fact that you brought it to my attention, now I have to actually address it, and I don't like it. Why did you bring that up? And he was like, because I wanted to be honest. And that's the thing, guys, that you don't get, that women know how dating works. Women knows the process of dating, and they're already thinking if you're on a dating app, you probably met other women. you're probably hooking up. But it's different for her to say, I think he might be doing it, but as long as I don't see it, it's cool, versus, oh crap, he brought it to my attention. Now he wants a reaction. Now I have to be disappointed in this, right? So understand, guy, you don't have to feel bad, because they're not going to feel bad knowing that you're hooking up with other women unless you tell them. Then it becomes a bigger issue, But anyway, so hopefully this addresses for you guys once and for all why dating multiple people in the grand scheme of things is not the absolute worst thing in the world you could be doing. Women are okay with you doing it, but more importantly, you should be. But as you can see from this last situation, you're going to come across multiple women, and some are going to be for you like they're 5 out of 10s, but they have a great personality. Some are going to be 8 out of 10s, but are kind of wishy-washy. Some are going to be out of this world attractive, but you don't know enough about them to really fully make an assessment. And so you need that time. You need a control group. And so consider dating multiple women as the control group that you're going to need in order to finally get to the promised land of choosing the right one for you. So hopefully, guys, this helps you out. So we're going to get into answering some other questions for people in the chat. But first off, I'm going to get myself some water because I totally forgot to get myself some water for the show. So we will be right back after this short break. Hey guys, Harry Williamson here. And I just want to tell you really quickly about some of the awesome ebooks that I have available at the website. So to start off with, we have my brand new book, Stop Losing Women, which is based off of my previous podcast. And it's over 284 pages of life-changing advice for your dating life. You're going to discover in the span of these pages the ins and outs of how to become more confident, the do's and don'ts of how to attract women, how to pace yourself during the dating process, and ultimately what it truly takes for you to be a more confident dater, so that way you can get out there, attract women, and more importantly, stop losing women, okay? The other ebook that I have on my website is called No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. This is the first book that I ever wrote, and simply put, it is a 12-chapter masterpiece that is designed to, in a very funny way, mind you, guide you through the ins and outs of why all the things you're trying to do right now to attract women can actually cause you to lose them. I mean, things like being the nice guy, overextending yourself, getting too many gifts, too many compliments, and a variety of other things that you may think as a guy I should be doing. This funny book's going to help you figure out once for all why you should not do those things and how to better yourself instead. So be sure to check that book out as well. The other book that's been very popular at my website is called Texting Like a Boss. This is where, for all you guys out there that have problems texting women or don't understand why she starts off so chummy in the terms of the texting things, and then she starts to kind of go away and you can't figure out what's going on or why, or you're not an efficient enough texter to be able to actually get dates by way of texting. Well, this book is going to give you 21 do's and don'ts that are tried, true, and tested, so that way you can get the results that you want with women when you're texting them, and ultimately not do the wrong things that are going to cause them to eventually ghost you in the texting realm. All right, so check that book out at the website. Lastly, my other popular book that I have there is called 10 Steps to Winning Back Your Ex, the step-by-step, no-nonsense guide to reconnecting with an old flame, regardless of who ended the relationship. And so for you guys that are like, hey, I think I lost a great one, and she left me and I want to get her back. Or you might have been the guy that's like, hey, I dumped her and then I realized I made a mistake and I want to get her back. Well, this book covers both of those scenarios in a very detailed step-by-step way that is designed to allow you to figure out what you did wrong, how you can show up better, and the sequence of events you need to go through in order to effectively win back the woman that you are no longer with. So if these things sound like things that'll be helpful to you, then definitely go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, click on the products tab, where you can find a summary of all these books as well as my various programs, and they will be more than happy in helping you figure out whatever part of the dating journey you're on, so that way you will not be confused and you will ultimately be able to have the dating life that you want. So check those out at the website today. All right, we are back, and I got my water. All right, so I'm trying to see if we had a comment here that was left in my comments section. I had a person comment during the last segment where he said, you are deficit. I think that's what he meant to say. He says, you are deficit if you have your brain on multiple worm who are not connected within yourself. Multiple people is toxic. So I'm going to read that as I think he means to say it. I think he means to say you are deficient or wrong. If you have your brain on multiple women you are not connected within yourself. Dating multiple people is toxic. Look, guy, real talk. Ultimately, this is just a show. You are in your full right to believe what you want to believe. And if for you, dating multiple people is a toxic thing that you can't handle or feel is morally wrong, then you have every single right to express that and live your life that way. Like, I can't control that. You know, again, my agenda here is not to try to push things that you do not or not do or not want to do. My job is to give you an alternative way to think about things and to think about the world at large and your dating life in particular. So in the dating realm of things, like, you could date multiple people without doing immoral things as you see them. Like, again, if you're dating 4 or 5 women at one time, you do not have to hook up with any of those women. You could totally say, hey, for 2 or 3 months of dating, I'm going to date this person, and this person, and this person, and this person, and I'm not going to hook up with any of them. I'm literally going to go on dinners and have conversations, and then go on more dinners, more conversations, maybe go on a hike, have more conversations, because dating is ultimately taking somebody out, entertaining them for a little bit, and having conversations. And just like I don't think it's wrong to have multiple best friends or multiple family members that you consider your favorites, I don't think there's anything wrong in the dating process of saying, hey, I need to figure out if I gel well with her and gel well with her and see which of these are going to be better. I'm not of the thought that having multiple relationships is a good thing, but there are people that are in polyamorous relationships that would say that I'm wrong. This doesn't make either of us, it makes the viewpoint and perspective we're coming from the way that we view things. So just like I'm like, oh, polyamory, that shouldn't be a thing. Well, the people in the polyamorous community, they'd be like, this should totally be a thing. This is what I'm able to manage that. I'm able to do what it is. And so it is what it is. And so I'm not going to judge them based on what I'm considering my standards are. But but so that said, if you feel as though dating most people is wrong, you're in your full right to believe that. I'm not going to preach that message to other guys, though, because I think other guys, we don't get a lot of opportunities as it is for women that are coming to us to want to date us. And then when we do, we can't assume the first option that comes to us is going to be the right option. So if that's how you operate and it works for you, fantastic. I find for most men, they need to get out of their heads that they are not able to get women and that they can only stick around with women that are bad for them because that's the only option they have. So I find dating most women remedies that. If you don't agree, then why are you watching the show? You don't have to agree, but you can go to see other people that will agree with that thought process. So just want to throw that out there. Okay, so we got a question from a guy over the weekend in my mailbox, and this guy is asking about saying I love you as it pertains to the 2 to 3 month timeline. So I tell you guys all the time, on average, it takes a woman 2 to 3 months to solidify her feelings enough to want to actually be in a relationship with you. But how does that now correlate with the time frame for her to say, I love you? Let's read this guy's question. So he says, hey, Harry, prefacing this email with saying you are a Harvard-level genius at women. Thank you for the YouTube videos. Well, thank you for the compliment. Thank you for liking and subscribing to this channel, which you guys should be doing. He says, my relationship has unfolded exactly the way that you preach. After 3 months of talking, my girlfriend brought up the what are we question. And now we're 3 months into a relationship. Like I said, guys, all women are the same and that they all think they're different, but they all typically operate on the same timeline. Even women that are like, when I was able to date some girls and be in a relationship after 2 or 3 weeks, that is the outlier. That is not the general norm. The general norm is women need 2 to 3 months to date you before they start feeling like they want a relationship, at which point they will come to you and ask for the relationship, as this guy experienced. So he says, I've fallen in love with this girl, but that is 100% confidential information. My strategy is to let her fold first, and she seems on the verge of doing so. Great. That's exactly what should be happening. You as the guy, like I said, I've said on the show before, guys are going to typically say things that to women feel like 3 times more than what we mean it. So when you're saying to a girl in the dating phase, for example, hey, just I really like you. What she's hearing is, I've already fallen in love with you. I want to marry you and I want you to have my babies, which is why as a guy, it behooves you to not express your feelings verbally early on, but to show it through actions that will give her the hint that you like her on some level. And she will come to you asking about what that level is. So in terms of the I love you aspect of things, that is also true. You saying, and again, I don't tell you guys anything on here that I have not personally experienced. I have been the guy that thought we've been boyfriend and girlfriend for a month. I'm going to say, I love you. Hey, I love you. And the response I got back was, oh, thank you. And then I stopped saying it. And then 3 months down the road, they say it and say, oh, when you said it was too soon, like, oh, look at that. I was feeling all the things and it was too soon. Surprise, surprise. So it's always better for feeling stuff to wait for her to express things first, because that lets you know that she's at that level, that she's comfortable, even if you were already there like 2 or 3 months prior, because most guys have 2 or 3 good dates, we're already in love. Spoiler, ladies, we fall in love a lot faster. We just are afraid to verbalize it because we know that it's usually too soon. So anyway, he asked, my primary question is whether the I love you milestone typically aligns with the 2 to 3 month timeline of the what are we question. So what I think he's asking is, you date a woman for 2 or 3 months. At that point, she solidified her feelings to want a relationship. Does that also mean she's at the I love you point? And my answer is no. When I say her feelings are solidified, what that means is that she's confident enough that you are who you say you are. She's had multiple times to interact with you to where she trusts that who she's going to get into a relationship is the actual guy that's been shown to her up to that point. And therefore, she's cool enough to say, hey, as long as we're going out, humping each other, doing all the things, we might as well put a title on this thing. Let's do it. All right. So that's one timeline. Then you have the point she's going to say, I love you. And I'll be honest, guys, most of you guys are not going to be able to wait out how long it takes a woman to get to that point. Now, there's a variety of reasons why women would actually wait a longer time before saying, I love you. It could be that she said it too soon in the past, and then after she said it, the guy went all haywire on her. It could be she's had her own experience of saying, I love you, and then the guy being like, oh my God, what is this about? I thought we were just whatever. We weren't be that super serious. But also, realistically, is that even if she's in a relationship with you, the reality is that love is even more of a deeper feeling than the solidification of this guy's cool enough to be in a relationship, because for her, the I love you is the no turning back point. Like at the point that she says to you, I love you, she is being the most vulnerable that she feels she will ever be with you. And she's saying it because that's the point where she's like, I can actually see this going long term, where I'm going to introduce him to family and to friends and eventually want to get married to him and have babies. And so for women, saying I love you is a huge monumental deal. And it is one that they do not take lightly. So it may very well be some women, hey, after 1 or 2 months of dating, hey, just so you know, babe, I love you. And some women are going to hold on to that. It could be 6 months to a year before she first says, I love you. Now, there are women out there that will be sitting there waiting, thinking, I'm not going to say it until he says it first. And I find those are usually special circumstances. Like, for example, let's say you dated a girl before, you guys broke up and got back together. Well, she might be thinking, okay, we already dated once. And so now it's like, we're back together, but I don't want to scare him off because this is going so well. So I'm going to hold off until he says something. Okay. That would be a situation where she might not say it. But even in those situations, if she's not saying it, I can assure you, she will be heavily hinting at that to you, that she actually has those lovey-dovey feelings. Whether it's saying like, you look really super duper handsome. I just want you to know, you make me feel like the best girl in the world. And oh, I just appreciate you so. Like she'll be over fawning you on compliments. That's usually a high sign that she wants to say I love you, but she wants you to say it first because she's kind of antsy about it, But for the most part, I have found that regardless of how long it takes, it's always typically better for you to wait for the woman to say, I love you first. And so in terms of that timeline, again, it could be anywhere from 2 months after you get into the relationship to about a year out, But the point is that she will come to you. Now for you, you might be in your head thinking, if I don't hear her say, I love you, then how do I know she wants to actually be with me? Like, I don't want to waste my time and energy, blah, blah, blah. Because she's in a relationship and because ideally she's showing you all the other signs outside of saying it that indicate that she has high feelings for you. She's giving you regular hookups. She's trying to plan outside events. She's getting you stuff like gifts and stuff like that on days that you're not even expecting things. Like not a holiday, just like, hey, it's a normal Tuesday, but I saw this at the store for you. Hey, so I want to make you your chocolate cake. Hey, I want to do that thing in the bed that I'm not used to doing because I've never done it with other guys, but with you, I want to try it out. Like she'll give you all these indicators that indicate that she's really loving of you, to where you as a guy should not be so hung up on having to specifically hear it. All right. So that's how I run my operation. Your results may vary. So then he says, even though she's about to break, I've observed a recent decline in her interest despite sticking to your advice, being spontaneous, and being the best possible version of myself. So I would say this, when I hear that sentence, that indicates to me that there are details being left out, and I would need to do a full-on coaching session with this guy to really see what's actually going on. Because when guys just say, I'm sticking to your advice, I'm being spontaneous, I mean the best possible version, but what does that mean? What kind of conversations are you having with her? Are you expressing a lot of feelings? Have you given any reason for her to doubt the situation? Are you being needy or anxious? Are you like what kinds of things are you doing that's making you feel as though she's starting to possibly pull away from you? And that requires a deeper dive. I find most guys, when they just write me, they don't give me the full description of what's actually going on, but you got to pay for a coaching session in order for me to do a deeper dive to really figure it out. So then he says, but I will say this, he says, the singular factor I could identify as potentially problematic arose from a casual question she asked me. And the question was, are you more inclined towards independence or dependence? To this, my response was, I don't need anyone. Just going to pause for that. He said, I don't need anyone. So guys, and by the way, I've had this conversation with women about how one of the reasons that guys are apprehensive about telling women the truth is because the way that we analyze not just the truth, but like telling the truth is different from women. As guys, we're very much like, if a guy came to me and asked me a straight up question about his relationship, his situation, he's coming to me because he wants an honest answer because he can't figure out what's going on. So as the guy that cares about him, I'm going to give him the full, straight, no chaser answer because I know he needs to know this stuff in order for him to be able to really assess his situation, right? But the problem is women ask questions and you're thinking it's a question that requires an analytical answer, and they're looking for a feelings-based answer. So when she said, are you more inclined towards independence or dependence? I know what this guy's trying to say. He's trying to say, well, if she goes away, I got to be able to take care of myself. I got to be able to still go to work and pay my bills. And that requires me to go out there and do it on my own. So even if she's not here, I could still do things and be fine. It would be devastating if she left, but I can still manage. So he's giving the answer from that perspective. Oh, I don't need anyone. Like he's not saying the part about, but he wants somebody. He's saying, but I don't need anybody to still function. That is a very analytical answer. And I'm gonna tell you now, guys, as men, you need to know that when women ask you questions, they're usually not looking for an analytical answer. They're trying to spark a conversation and they're trying to ideally get some kind of feel from you that you need them in your life. So when he said the thing, I don't need anyone, what she heard is, oh, so he'd rather not be here. Like if I wasn't here, it'd be no big deal for him. He wouldn't just blah, blah, blah. And it's not fair that women assess it that way to us. It's not fair to us that women assess it that way, but you as a guy need to just know that that's how women are going to assess things. So when they ask you these kind of questions, you'll give a better answer. You know what my answer would have been? Girl comes to me and says, hey, so are you more inclined towards independence or dependence? My answer would have been, well, to be honest, it depends on the situation. If I'm single and I have no choice but to take care of myself, then I would have to, in that situation, independence. But in a relationship, I find I actually prefer interdependence when we're both relying on each other in order to get through life. I find that's a better system to operate with in a relationship. Don't you agree? Then I push it right back over to her so she can give her, well, I think blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But what do you most prefer? I'd say, again, it depends, but I don't prefer either one. If I'm solo, I have no choice but to be independent. If I'm with somebody, I have no choice but to be interdependent for the best of the relationship. And honestly, that's a good thing, right? So that lets her know, oh, so in this relationship, you're cool with being interdependent and you still need me. Oh, yay. And again, some guys will be like, but I should be able to answer how I want to. You can answer however you want to. It's not going to help you keep women if you don't know how they're taking in your answers. So just be mindful that if you choose to answer the way this guy is, she might start pulling away. Is that the result that you want? It's not. So just like we want them to understand how we communicate and sometimes coming over to our side of the fence, we have to be able to extend the olive branch to them and say, hey, I know how I want to answer the question, but I know why she's asking the question. So let me figure out the best answer I can give in this scenario to be able to continue on and have, good times with her, right? But with that said, I don't even think that's the reason that she's pulling away. I think that ultimately there's probably other things he's not aware of that he potentially is doing, whether it's he's being a little needy, he's maybe texting her too much or whatever, that's causing her to want to back up a bit. I find at the point that women start backing away, it's because the guy on his end is doing something in the vein of something that's a bit too much, and he's not aware of what that too much is. Again, if I were to have a coaching session with this guy, I could sit down with him and talk about, okay, what things collectively have you been experiencing with this woman that allows me to further assess that? If you want coaching, by the way, guys, go to the website, introvertdatingsuccess.com, and click on the coaching tab. I'd love to talk to you on the phone. Okay. He says, after she asked this, I knew I had to distance myself, which seemed to have some positive effect. Now I feel like I'm in purgatory. He says she took until the latter part of the 3-month timeline to officially ask me the relationship question. I'm hoping that she's just a late bloomer when it comes to expressing love. Well, again, like I said on the show, it takes 2 to 3 months. I've had women where it literally took them 3 months and 2 days to come to me asking for the relationship. I've had some that did it right on the 3-month day. I've had some that came to me after like a month and a half and said, hey, so what's going on, blah, blah, blah. Like, again, but the more patient you are and the more right things you're doing, they're going to come to you a lot faster. If she waited till the end of the 3 months, it probably means that there were probably times where maybe you were bringing up, wanted to talk about feelings or where she's at or whatever, seeing her too much, which can delay the timeline for women about when they're going to come to you. So again, guys, it behooves you to be the more patient one. You don't lose out on being patient, but you do lose out on trying to do too much. As men, we are doers. So it can be very, very hard to think about, wait, if I'm not doing, then I'm going to get better results. Yes, I find that when you're making more calculated moves and knowing when to hold back, that holding back is what allows her to anticipate you. When they're anticipating seeing you, it makes them want to be around you more, which makes it their idea to want to see you, which makes them the ones that are coming after you. So you can make your dating life a lot easier if you're just a bit more patient. He says, I'm having trouble feeling out if it's a time issue for her or if her interest is declining after feeling the euphoria of almost telling me she loves me. I'm seeking your counsel on whether I should consider ending the relationship and what level of tolerance is reasonable regarding her evolving feelings. For context, she's 30-year-old and Mormon, and I'm a 25-year-old non-Mormon. So again, guy, this goes back to, it's not necessarily about the feelings thing. It's about you're probably being near too much. But again, I don't know that without fully assessing your situation. So hit me up for one-on-one coaching. I'd love to help you out with that. But I will say this. I will say that she's a bit older. So women typically date guys that are older than them because they're a bit more mature. So there could be a thing about the age gap in terms of like some women, even if they say they're okay dating a younger guy, when they start getting around their friends and saying, oh, I'm dating a guy that's 5, 6, 7 years younger than me, they might be getting looks or sniggles. They make them second guess things. All right. But more to the point, also, you're saying she's 30 and Mormon and you're not. Even though that doesn't seem like a big deal right now, I'm going to tell you that in the long span of a relationship, you guys being on the same page as it pertains to religion is going to be a big deal. Like, it's not a big deal now when there are no kids involved and no family members involved. At the point that you start having kids, she's going to be thinking, I want to send him to school to be a Mormon. And you're going to be thinking, that's a dumb idea. There's going to be problems. So she could very well be seeing that and thinking like, man, I really like this guy, but like, he's not a Mormon. I can't force it on him, but oh my God, what's going on? But again, I don't know that fully because I don't know what you guys' interaction is with that. I don't know how serious she is about being a Mormon, or if she's like, oh, I'm a Mormon in name, but like in practice, it ain't got to be that big of a deal. But I'm telling you, that could be a big deal later on. So you may want to consider, even though, yeah, you're getting good hookups now and things are great, it's great now in the few times you've been, in the 2 or 3 months or 6 months you've been dating each other, but in a long-term relationship, trust me, people get together, get married, have kids, and then get divorced over things like religion, over things like politics. So be mindful of that if you're going to continue trying to date this woman. But in terms of should you break up with her based on her not saying I love you, I would say that's not a thing. I'd say you need to keep waiting her out and you need to be more patient and let her come to you for that kind of stuff. So hopefully that helps you out. Again, if you need more coaching, go to the website, click on the coaching tab. I would love to sit down with you. All right. So I think that's pretty much all I have for today's Saturday stream. So thank you guys for tuning in to this first Saturday stream. I'm going to be doing these more regularly at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Saturdays. I also have my regular show that's normally on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. This coming week, I have a thing I'm doing on Tuesday. So I'll be actually doing the live show on Monday at 5 p.m. I will send out in an email. If you're not signed up for my email list, go to the website. Click on the first page, you'll see a thing that says you can opt in. And when you opt in, you'll get the free chapter from my best-selling ebook, Texting Women Like a Boss. It'll teach you the first 3 pillars of what to be doing and not doing as it pertains to texting. So sign up for that. You'll be on the email list. And then I can send you out emails about when shows are happening and other kind of great promotions. All right. So thank you guys for watching today's show. I'm Harry Wilmington as always, and I will catch you guys on the next one. I'm out. Peace.
You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value. value, high class man. You a high class man. You a high class man. You a high earning, high value, high.